And then I thought, well, now my children are grown. I've got time. I have my retirement income. So I get this done now. And even when I was driving the truck across country, I'd see beautiful things, take a photo. When I was off, you see these trucks in the truck stop and by the road, I'm painting a picture in my truck. So I was still painting even and sketching, even driving the truck.
Well, do you have any advice for young people that want to go into art, Christine?
I can look at clouds now and see different colors in the clouds, maybe 3 or 4 colors, where people might see just 2.
Yes.
So it does give you a better eye for things around you as well, more aware of other things.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Career Education Learners in the Podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Rivers. I am thrilled and honored to have on our show today, Christine LaPierre. Christine is the owner of Serene Fine Art down in Mississippi. How are you doing today, Christine?
I'm doing very well.
And one of the things that we try to have in a program is people with different occupations, and especially business owners. Because entrepreneurship seems to be the wave that everybody's going to these days, to be their own boss. And I've seen Christine's profile on my LinkedIn, and knowing that she's a business owner of fine art, I just knew I had to get this special lady on our show. So Christine, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your journey to your current career as a business owner.
Well, I've always been a creative person, and people seem to like my artwork, and that's kind of what kickstarted the whole thing. And I got down here to Mississippi about 3 years ago and found a gallery, and it kind of started from there. So I had my art in 3 different places and doing shows, and then people have been buying it. So it's been working out.
So did you always want to be an artist since you was younger?
Yes. Yes, I've always wanted to be. My school paper was full of doodles and paper dolls and drawing costumes and stuff. So I always wasted my school paper on that instead of schoolwork.
It paid off. That's what most teachers say. Paid off. When the teacher said, "Well, while you're daydreaming, while you're doodling," really we were just focusing on our next career, and we didn't even know it. Right? Creative people thinking about daydreaming about future films and animation and all kinds of arts, stuff. And then you were doodling for your future being in art. You got graphic artists, you got cartoonists, everything, illustrators, everything about foreign as far as doing your art and everything else. Now, Christine, I have a confession. I cannot draw a lick. I can barely draw a straight line without a ruler, okay? I'm not good at art. And so I really have a fascination, and I just love people who can do art and just do imaginary things out of their head. I'm just amazed by that. But Christine, we talked earlier before the podcast, but you wasn't always into art. You was doing something else before art. What was you doing before you became an artist, professional artist?
Done many jobs like working in retail stores, retail management. I went to college out of high school to learn fashion design and ended up with retail courses and retail management, that kind of thing. That's how I ended up in that career. And then marriage, children, divorce. Then I ended up in banking, and then the children were raised, and I ended up driving an 18-wheeler truck. Wow. Retired from that about 5 years ago. No, it was more than that. It was 2017 when I retired, and I had to hit the art again and started practicing painting on canvas, and then ended up finding a gallery that accepted me, and now here I am. So
that is a fantastic story. Now, was you selling your art before you started your gallery? I mean, were you selling your art like earlier in your career?
Yes. When I got married, I went into the design business and then took some classes for oil painting, and then people would buy some paintings. And that was back in 1978. I sold my first painting.
Wow.
So,
what type of art do you specialize in? Do you specialize in oil painting, or is there a particular art as far as a canvas that you specialize in, or do you do an array of art?
I do mostly oils and acrylics, but I like to paint landscapes because I just love the connection to nature. And my mission is to paint soft and peaceful scenes of nature that people can kind of rest in, get away from all the chaos and stress of life nowadays, and look at a pretty restful painting of a landscape or a lake or a beach and just kind of escape for a while. That's my mission. That's why it's called Serene Fine Art, because I want peace to come to people.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you go on her profile, and we're going to give her the information at the end of the show, but definitely on LinkedIn, it's very beautiful paintings. And I love landscape paintings. I really do. I'm like you, Christine. It calms me down. So I love seeing pictures of mountains or small houses or cabins or the river, just a background with glaciers and mountains. That relaxes me all the time. I mean, that's why I knew I had to get on the show, because I'm like, this is such good art. So y'all, if I get a chance, go and see on her profile, good art. And I'm pretty sure she's going to tell us the website where you can go on and look at her art and see if you want to buy some pieces from her. So that is something that I highly recommend, because once I get that big paycheck from the sky, or either my wife let me spend money, then I would go ahead and buy some art also. I would definitely buy some art also. So you becoming a business owner, how is that going? Do you have any challenges in the beginning as far as the business owner?
The biggest challenge is a solopreneur, if I can say that right, is wearing all those hats. You know, you're an accountant, you're a business owner, you're a community, you're a salesperson, you're out there in the community, and then public relations. So you've got all these different hats that you're wearing, and the time management to get all that done is quite a challenge.
So with those challenges, enjoyment too. I mean, I always present the challenges too. What do you enjoy most about business owner?
Being able to make my own decisions. Mm-hmm. I know working for other people, it was kind of frustrating sometimes for me, probably because of the entrepreneur heart, but that's the biggest reward I get. And the people that I talk to, I get to be out there and talking to people and meeting them and getting to know people.
Now, having your own art gallery, do you have other artists let me ask this question then. Was there a particular artist that when you grew up that you admired, or one that you aspired to be like?
Yes. Now, I was raised in the military. Well, that gave me the opportunity to live in Germany, and we would take vacations in Europe. And one of the places we went was Paris at the Louvre. And I saw the paintings of Van Gogh, Monet.
Wow.
And it was Van Gogh and Monet that I resonated with the most. So they've really influenced me. And as far as Impressionism, and one lady even said she could see the Monet in my art.
Fantastic. Wow.
I could see Monet in there. I'm heavily influenced from that moment. And that's when I decided, I really want to do this. I was 13.
Man. And that's really what I'm to do this. So when you said you were doing truck driving in 2017, that's when you decided to really go back into art. Was there something that just triggered that? Did you just get tired of working the same 9-to-5 job, quote unquote, and just say, look, I want to do something on my own? Is that what triggered you to become an entrepreneur yourself?
Yes, that's. And then I thought, well, now my children are grown. I've got time. I have my retirement income, so I can get this done now. And even when I was driving the truck across country, I'd see beautiful things, take a photo. And then when I was off, you see these trucks in the truck stop and side of the road, I'm painting a picture in my truck. So I was still painting even and sketching, even driving the truck. So
that gave you inspiration. That is great. Now, when growing up, did your parents know that you love art so much, and did you get support from your parents?
Yes, they knew that was my passion. I think that's why my mother took me to the Louvre. My dad wasn't really into that stuff, and my sister wasn't, but my mother and I went. And I think that's why she took me, so I would could see them.
Your mother who inspired you, really wanted you to really go for your passion. Like, look, yeah. Christine, when you're little, I want you to love this. And she just, wanted to support you with that. But I take you to different places and encouraging and really making sure that you was able to get those creative juices out of your system, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And so being an artist and being creative like you are, did any of your children, I don't get personal like, but here I am, did any of your children pick up your love for art?
I really have them that are quite talented with art, very talented. And one is so talented, but she's pursuing to be a veterinarian because she loves animals. So but she might pick up art later on like I did. So
that is great. Well, I'll tell you what, you can never have enough veterinarians. I'll be honest with you. I didn't know veterinary school was so hard until I talked to people who went to medical school and said veterinary school is really hard to get into medical school. So you have a smart young lady there. But I think over time, and we talked about this earlier, that a lot of times you start off doing something like we did, right? You start off doing business and you start off doing truck driving and other things. And then I think by the time she get around, her 40s and 50s, where she's worked all the time, or she can incorporate that with her art with animals, right?
Yes. And in fact, work I've seen her do is tigers and cats and dogs. So, yeah, she's always liked animals, so she draws them, I guess.
And see, that's where they come from, that type of, that type of creativity that you has passed down, and to go and do that, so sometimes you can do things simultaneously, to where she started like you did, doing it as a hobby, and then one time turn that hobby into a profession.
Yes.
So I know you started it. So did you buy that art gallery from another person and just decided to go with that art gallery there?
Actually, it wasn't my art gallery. It was an art gallery here in Gulfport, Mississippi. That's a nonprofit, and they just show the local artists. So even though they have a screening you have to go through, not everybody can make it. But I got into that one. And then the other one is a people that just do a show every quarter. So my work stays in there year round, but I just change it out every quarter depending on their theme. So, and then the other place is an antique store that wanted to show local artists. So that's what I did, is just find where do people want to showcase local artists. So.
Yes. And how much support do you get from the community?
Oh, quite a bit of support, because they do events and things that you can be involved in that bring people in too.
Especially for local artists, I know it's hard for local artists. They get recognized. Do y'all try to really display local artists within the area of Gulfport?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that one of y'all main, well, I know there are many missions within any organization. I had a nonprofit too, but is that one of y'all main missions to go ahead and support local artists?
Yes. That's their main mission, is to support the local artist community.
What about too? Do y'all try to encourage, do y'all get a chance to go back to schools or invite young people to the art gallery so they can be exposed to this great art y'all have?
Yeah. Yes. And we also teach at that art center, that nonprofit. They allow us to teach people as well on how to paint or how to sculpt or how to do ceramics. They have all kinds of classes, drawing classes that the local artists will host.
So even with the age of computers, internet, and all this, do you still find a lot of kids interested in art and have a passion for it, coming in contact with those young people?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
And does that help? Do you think, and I think this too, any art, whether it's music, art itself or plays, drama, whatever, do you think, like I do, I think it really expands a person's their horizon as far as making it more, I would say like a whole person. I hate to say that word because people use that a lot, but it just makes them encompasses more of what they are exposed to, then a better rounded person they become. Would you agree with that? And how do you feel about more arts into the school? Should there be more art into the school? Because unfortunately schools are trying to cut art out of it.
I definitely agree there should be more art in the school. Now, when I know I'm an older person, more sage, but when I was growing up, art was a big part of school. And then after I graduated high school, that's when they started to do the cutbacks on the funding and things. But I do believe art should be a big part of school. Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, I think, my dad was a music teacher, Christine, and he was assistant band director and music teacher, and he majored in music, and he had his own band at one time. And then my mom also, she was a literature teacher, English literature, and she taught piano lessons to the local kids in the community. And so music and that form of art was really vibrant for me growing up. So how do you feel is important for our young people to be exposed to art? How important is that, do you feel, in our community?
There we go.
So let me ask that question again, and I'll cut that segment out. So how do you feel growing up? I said earlier, growing up, I grew around as far as my dad and mom, the influence of music. How much do you think that's important for our community to involve our young people in different art mediums?
It's very important to be involved with, or to be exposed, or to have some experience with art. I do think that, because it expands your mind. I can look at clouds now and see different colors in the clouds, maybe 3 or 4 colors where people might see just 2.
Yeah.
So it does give you a better eye for things around you as well. You're more aware of other things.
Well, do you have any advice for young people that want to go into art, Christine? Some of them may feel like their parents these days, and even back in that day, let's be honest, that most people, when they have kids, they want to become lawyer, doctor, business person, etc. And there's always that thing when you're art and they hear about the quote unquote starving artist, right?
Right.
It's always been a cliche when we were growing up. Do you have something to say to encourage young people to where they may be doing a job, but also they can continue to do their art while they're doing another job?
Yeah, because that's pretty much what I did. You just keep practicing the art. You can keep, do it on the weekends, or if you have time after work to work on something, or maybe if you're like me with oil paintings, it's up there all week and you kind of takes you a couple of months to finish it, but it's something you can work on and still keep practicing it. And then when you're ready to be involved, then your art is probably well enough that you can go to local galleries, have them look at your art, and then they can showcase your art, and then you can still be working while your art's being sold in different galleries. That's how I would start. Yeah, I
agree. And what about a person that want to do like you did, take their art to the next level and become a business owner? Do you have any advice for them who want to become a business owner?
Do that. And I started with no money because I didn't have any money. And that's usually the case with people, with entrepreneurs. But you can start with very little money and just keep reading books. There's how to sell your art books that you can get on Amazon, or thrift books or anything like that. And read business books. That's what I did too, to prepare myself, and watching a lot of YouTube things on how to start a business, and just took all kinds of notes. And when I was ready, I felt like I was prepared and ready to go. So
that is some good advice. Well, if people want to get in contact with you, Christine, how can they get in contact with you, whether it's LinkedIn or your email, or how can they, and what is the website where they can see your fine art?
SereneFineArt.com. And then I'm also starting an art therapy group, and that's called soulserene.org.
And also, ladies and gentlemen, she's also on LinkedIn if you want to friend her, if she thinks that you worthy to be friend as far as being just a nice person. I'm pretty sure, especially if you're interested in art, you have questions there. So, thank you, Christine, for coming on. So I really appreciate it. And I'd like to thank our audience for joining me, Mitchell Rivers, for another episode of Career Education Learning Center podcast, where we're making your career dreams a reality. God bless.